Hello guys, this is quite surprising to me. I am shocked. For the past 1 week, I've been talking a lot about Pokrovsk, and I've been giving you guys many examples of the very mistake that the Nazis did in Stalingrad. How General Zhukov was able to capitalize on these mistakes of Adolf Hitler, and how Zhukov was able to surround Nazi troops in Stalingrad. To my surprise, Zelensky and Sesky is repeating the same mistake. Exactly. They are not leaving anything out. It's kind of like I just predicted the whole thing. I didn't see this coming, to be honest with you. I was just telling you guys what the Nazis did. And I was not expecting Ukraine to go in that direction. So on Sky News gave an update about Pokrovsk. And in that particular update, Sky News said the Ukrainians came out and said Pokrovsk is not surrounded. They even showed a video of Ukrainian paratroopers dropping out of an helicopter into Pokrovsk, which is quite shocking to me. Exactly what I was telling you guys here. I have repeated this countless number of times, throughout this week, that in Stalingrad, when Nazi troops were surrounded, when Russian troops from Siberia, when Zhukov, it's a history for another day, but I'm going to touch on just on few parts. When General Zhukov got information that Japan was not going to invade Russia from Siberia, General Zhukov decided to withdraw his troops from Siberia, and he used them in Stalingrad and surrounded Stalingrad. So in this operation, this was the first time that the Nazis were about to be defeated ever since the Nazis started their offensive throughout Europe. They defeated everybody. So when Hitler realized that he was about to be defeated in Stalingrad, he told his soldiers not to withdraw. Then he started dropping equipment and food from aircraft. I reported it here. This is the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Zelensky is repeating the same mistake. So they are showing videos of them dropping equipment and and paratroopers from an helicopter in Pokrovsk. No, think about this critically. How many people can helicopter carry? How many people? Russia is surrounding the city of Pokrovsk with close to 200,000 people. And currently, Ukrainians in Pokrovsk are not even up to 20,000. Remember, in between Pokrovsk and Kupiansk, the total amount is somewhere 27,000. But in Pokrovsk alone, they are not up to 20,000. So how many men can you drop to break out this encirclement? All these people they are sending in, they'll return their bodies back in casket. It's quite obvious. Hit on the like button is very, very important to me. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. This is a desperate attempt to tell the whole world that, look, we are not surrounded in Pokrovsk. We still have the situation under control. Anybody who knows Ukraine, this is not new. We've seen it happening over and over again. Everywhere, Ukrainian troops are about to be encircled or crouched, Zelensky will record more than 10 videos trying to explain to the whole world that it is not true. But at long last, it will happen. For some reason, the Russians know Ukraine very, very, very well. So after this video was published, quickly the Russians were able to locate the exact location of where this helicopter dropped these troops. For some reason, they know it very well. Let me give you guys a typical example. When the F-16s were delivered to Ukraine, they hide them, or they were hidden in a bunker. So the Ukrainians decided to make a video and thank the Americans and show off that finally they have gotten these F-16s. After the video was released, the Russians were able to pinpoint exactly where this bunker was. And warning was sent to the Ukrainians that if these F-16s ever leave this base, we are going to destroy it. Ever since then, Ukraine has not been able to fly out the F-16. The point is, even if it is true, Russians have debunked. There are many channels on many Russian channels debunk this video, claiming that This is not even in the city of Pokrovsk itself. It is in the outskirts of Pokrovsk. But let's even agree that this is in Pokrovsk city itself where they dropped this helicopter. Once you brought out this video, they are going to target any helicopter who dares land in the city of Pokrovsk. They are going to blow it up. It's quite obvious. And supposedly, even if they don't blow up this helicopter, the question I keep asking is, how many people can this helicopter carry? Can you drop over 100,000 troops with these helicopters into Pokrovsk to break out the encirclement? It is hell no. The quadrum that the Russians created almost a week ago is now shrinking. The Russians continue to close in. Now, whilst the quadrum is shrinking, whilst the Russians continue to close in the quadrum, it comes at the expense of human lives. Yes, because they are fighting whilst they are closing in. So the more they close in, every inch the Russians close in, it comes at the expense of Ukrainian soldiers' lives. Unless maybe you surrender. If you don't surrender, you will be annihilated. I was 100% right when I told you guys that the Ukrainians are engaging in standstill fight. This has been the case since 2022. It's kind of like they value territory more than the lives of their own soldiers. It's quite obvious. It's quite clear. Instead of them to surrender, if it was the Russians, now let me make this clear. If Russia find themselves in this position, note, the encirclement just don't happen overnight. It is a system. They build it. So before they encircle any troops, it was quite obvious from day one that these troops there were going to be encircled. So the Ukrainian authorities were supposed to call off, they were supposed to let their soldiers pull out of Pokrovsk fast and allow the Russians to take the city. This was what they were supposed to do. If it was the Russians, they would have done that. Now observe, ever since this war began, you don't see this more. The Russians being encircled. It's not something that really happened. You've never heard it before, right? The Russians learned their mistake in Second World War. This was a strategy that Napoleon used a lot against them. And when the Nazis even invaded them in Operation Barbarossa, this was the same strategy that the Nazis used against the Russians. So they learned their lessons in the two most horrifying wars against Russia, which is Napoleon invasion and Hitler invasion. So they learned their mistake there. Ever since then, the Russians do not engage in standstill fight. They will withdraw their troops and give you the land. Take. They believe they are fighting against an army. So this is a big mistake from the Ukrainian side. I've said it countless number of times. Right from the day this war began in 2022, I spoke about the standstill fight that the Ukrainians were engaging in. I told you guys countless number of times that this was going to affect the Ukrainian army very bad. Today, it's quite obvious that Trump is not ready to give Ukraine free weapons again. It is a new day. Trump is the new guy, and Trump has made this clear that NATO will have to bear the cost. Mainly the European countries will have to bear the cost for this war. And today we can all see what is happening around Europe. Their economies continue to struggle, which means if Europe is to bear this cost alone, it is impossible for them to support Ukraine fully. Even with Russian frozen assets, today they are fighting over it. It's now like a guillotine around their neck. Some countries don't agree them sending over Russian frozen assets to Ukraine. You know, it's a whole lot. They are fighting among themselves. But I want you, after this video, I want you to search for Russian spies take over America. Recently, DW also reposted that video. That video was posted about a year ago. It's a documentary. And DW also reposted it recently. And they titled it, Russian Spies Take Over the White House. In that video, I was shocked to find out that even way back in the 80s, all of a sudden when Donald Trump decided to show interest in politics, he made it clear that NATO have no reason to exist. He criticized the West right from the 1980s. So Donald Trump and the West, their fight didn't start today. This whole idea of America supplying the West with weapons has been something that Donald Trump has repeatedly said, over and over again. He started this thing way back in the 80s. Now, the whole purpose of this documentary is to is to show you guys that Donald Trump is 100% controlled by Vladimir Putin. It's quite an interesting documentary. You can search for it and watch it. It's up to you to believe or not. But if you watch it, you understand why Donald Trump behaves the way he's behaving. So all the talks that Donald Trump talks in the media is absolutely a fluke. It is quite facade. I don't think he can act on it. Giving weapons to Ukraine, it's not going to happen. I don't see it happening. By the way, you search for that video and you understand, this whole thing clearly. Now, I want to share something interesting with you guys. I spoke about this a lot 3 years ago, back in 2022. Now, I came across a documentary on Bloomberg, and to my surprise, I saw the same documentary on DW about this whole oil price cap on Russian oil. So 3 years ago, the West decided to sanction Russia. They decided to impose oil price cap on Russian oil. And they said all Western companies, especially the shipping companies, cannot ship Russian oil over this price cap. And I remember perfectly telling you guys that this was absolutely BS. It was not going to happen. The Russians are going to find a way around it. To my surprise, the same Western media who was championing this thing is now telling the whole world that, look, it failed. It didn't work. Greece. I told you guys that Greece is controlled by the rich guys. And most of these rich guys, they control the shipping companies. And these politicians, most of them in power today in Greece, all of them are brought to power by these oil tycoon guys. And they were not going to follow this oil price cap. And Greece government cannot do anything. If the government dare to oppose what these rich guys want, they are going to take them out of power. Exactly what I said. Now, Greece happens today to be the highest exporter of Russian oil around the world. So the oil price cap failed completely. It didn't work. So this whole attempt to strangle Russian economy has failed completely. Russia continued to export their oil to the rest of the world, violating this whole oil price cap thing. This is to tell you that the rest of the world don't care about what the West think. This is to tell you that most of the world today are moving towards a multipolar world. Nobody cares about what the West wants. No. If it doesn't fit their interest, they don't care about you. The rest of the world today continue to trade with the Russians. So this whole idea that sanctioning Russia is going to break the Russian economy eventually, then the Russian war machine is going to fall, then Ukraine will win, it's not going to happen. This is the right time for them to negotiate. If they negotiate now, Ukraine will definitely have some of their territories back. If they fail, all the territories that the Russians are capturing, Ukraine is not going to get even 1% back. I continue to ask myself, how did Great Britain get themselves here? Something interesting is happening. Great Britain, who ruled the whole world. Remember that Great Britain used to be the #1 country. In fact, when we talk about superpowers back in the days, Britain was on top. No country was close to Great Britain. Now, Britain has gotten to a point that even ordinary pilots to fly the F-35 is even a problem for them. How did Britain move from #1 to a point whereby today they rely entirely on America? We continue to hear Keir Starmer talking about war preparation against Russia. Not Britain have an army less than even 200,000 troops. Remember that Ukraine have a much bigger army, better pilots, better engineers, more than Britain. But look at what Ukraine is going through. So this should give you a clear picture. If Britain find themselves in any war against Russia, what is going to happen to them? Now they're talking about even to get all these pilots and engineers, it's going to take them around 4 to 5 years. So I want you to close your eyes and imagine if they dare pick up a war with Russia, what is going to happen to them? Note, one of the biggest or one of the best missiles of the British is the Storm Shadow missile. And they've given a lot to Ukraine, and it has not changed anything. It has not changed anything on the front lines. By the way, you watch this video.
The F-35 is the UK's most advanced and expensive jet, but a committee of MPs has revealed a series of significant problems with the nearly £57 billion programme. This includes a serious shortage of engineers and pilots that limits the availability of the aircraft. The MPs also say that these jets won't be fitted with missiles that can hit targets on the ground from a safe distance until the early 2030s. That's despite this kind of capability being absolutely crucial when it comes to modern warfare. Finally, the Public Accounts Committee raised questions about a plan announced by the Prime Minister in June for the UK to buy 12 of the F-35s that are capable of carrying American nuclear weapons. This was a big announcement that the Prime Minister made in NATO. But the report by these MPs say that there isn't a time frame for when that capability will be operational, and there's also no idea of the cost.
There's a saying in Britain that today, if America asks Britain to jump, they ask America how high. Meaning today, America controls Britain completely. Somebody should send this video to Kestama and remind Kestama that even pilots to even fly the most advanced fighter jet in Britain today is a problem for Britain. Remember, just a few years back, Britain had a better economy, more than even Russia. Somebody should remind Kestama that today, Russia produced their own fighter jets. They don't rely on America or any other country. So he should be careful. Well, this is a 17 minutes long video. It is not easy for somebody to watch this video to the end. If you watch this video to the very end, type Timo in the comment section. This will help me know those of you who watch the video to the very end. Let me know, what do you think about whatever is happening? Your thoughts are very, very important. Let me know down in the comment section. Shalom. See you guys in the next episode.